Alec Mosley. Here. Greg Maloof. Here. Dan Sargent. Here. Dan Brown. Here. Katie Trahan.
Here.
And Richard Block. We have a group. So, has everybody had a chance to review the previous minutes? Any issues or concerns?
I move we approve the minutes as submitted. Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those for?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. And Alec, we have approved the minute. We had to make a change last month, and that has handled and has been signed off on.
Okay, thank you.
Staff for community reports.
The only staff reports I had, since the last time we met, we've had 3 staff review plats that I reviewed and sent to Katie and Debbie, so that's good to go. Those now staff review plats are basically just 2-lot subdivisions. We're dividing a property into 2 lots. They meet all the minimum qualifications. They have all that up in front of them, so they don't require any new utilities or variances. And I think at least one of them, of all of them is signed?
Yes.
Okay, all of them is signed, so, yep.
Katie, I want to appreciate the effort you did last month with cleaning up, making sure we got all the signatures and following up and getting everything done and making sure our records that we pass on in good shape. Appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Any other old business? Okay. The first I see on the, well, before we move into that, we've had a few issues that have come up, or a couple that have come up, what required a site plan and what didn't. And one of them was with me. I built a small pavilion at the end, and got with Travis. You know, it doesn't have a separate meter, it doesn't have anything, and he said everything's fine. We've had another request, I believe, from a business owner that wanted to put in a patio or slab, if I understand it correctly, or slab, and have a patio behind their business. Is there any guidance here?
So that's where the gray area of where you have in the zoning ordinance, I think I've brought it up before, but the issue is the site plan requirements basically say any development or redevelopment of commercial property or industrial property requires a site plan. Now, what does redevelopment mean? Because if you don't have provisions for, a lot of communities have provisions where there's called sketch plan requirements. Essentially, it doesn't require as much detail as a site plan. It can be approved by the building inspector, and it's based off of a minimum, expansion size. So if you're just doing, just a few extra parking spaces, or if you're adding less than 1,000 square feet into a building, then the building inspector can review
This wouldn't
it.
be a structure as far as adding square footage. This is nothing more than converting what was already there and pouring a slab.
Does it require a building permit for you to build any of these things that you're asking for? Like talking about the pavilion, talking about the...
You want to do this now, or we have to do the same things? I think Travis wants
Well, we can
express an opinion.
we do that. All right. Travis, go ahead, I'm sorry.
So, where we're going back and forth, so Richard built a kind of like a pergola on his property. Richard called me and asked me about, kind of gave me a spec of, this was a project, basically a bolt together style project on heavy timber. He needed a slab, he wanted a slab, but this slab didn't perforate the ground. This is basically an on top of the ground slab just for level, was all it was for. What, maybe an inch thick concrete, 2 inches on, 2 inch thick on one end, 3 inch on the other. I said I didn't really feel like it needed one because there was no interior digs on the ground for footings and for posts. So this was kind of a bolt together project on an existing. It was an exterior project. Now you go to Miss Reed's on the Paco's Tacos building, and I actually called and spoke to Jonathan. I would love to see something presented, like Jonathan was just explaining, that we could do, I call it a desktop review on something that's minor that's going on an existing building. Deborah's, I felt, was different because, number one, the ordinance said so, that this was proposed to you guys on the commission, but on the other side of it, hers required a building permit. There was a bathroom, I think there was one bathroom that was renovated, and then there was a second bathroom that was added in, so there was a total of 2 bathrooms, which requires a plumbing inspection by international code. And then there was also the exterior work on the little site sketch that's probably in your packet. Just to cover our basis from the municipality, I requested with Jonathan that it needed to come before you guys, but at the same token, I don't have any problems with it. I'm fine with it as the inspector, but I think we need to change the language in this to add a desktop, an approval, if you will, for an existing business.
Yes, sir.
After we got this today, I looked through the zoning ordinance, and there is a provision for a sketch plan. However, it can be rejected at the sole discretion of the building official, and then a site plan would be required anyway. This certainly does not comply with the requirements for a site plan. If it were a sketch plan, it wouldn't come before the planning commission. So I'm not sure what we're doing with it, and it certainly was very untimely. 30 days or 6 hours, and I saw it. But are we going to treat this as a request for a submitted site plan?
Go ahead, Mayor.
Well, for my part, there's several points I'd like to make. Number one, as I understand it, no utilities are impacted, no structure is going to be on it, and quite frankly, if it's non-interfering with any other ordinance or contradicting any other ordinance, I don't see why the building inspector can't approve a site plan just because sooner or later you'd have to issue a CO.
Yes.
And I believe there's no landlord-tenant issue as Ms. Reed owns the building at this time. So I don't see any real issues. If there were buildings or changing the footprint of the building and adding on a wing, that to me is completely different. I just don't see where this meets any of those issues.
I have a question for you, Alex, because the way I understand the sketch plan requirements only apply to single-family duplexes and then accessory structures, unless, do you know what?
You're right. I didn't know if this was supposed to be an accessory.
Yes, so, yeah, and that's where,
The way I read it too is the
Yeah.
same as Jonathan's explaining as well.
It's
I
like-
didn't treat it as an accessory, I treated it as a standalone.
yeah, and how do you, and again, it's basically what we're asking. I don't think any of us have an issue with what Ms. Reed's doing, or really anybody that's trying to expand their business. I think we just need explicit language in the zoning ordinance that says, hey, if you are doing expansion or you're doing anything like that, you don't have to go through the rigorous process of a site plan because it's not really, you're not doing the amount of work that a site plan would require, whatever you're doing. But if we don't have that in black and white, then all we have to go by is the standards that are in the zoning ordinance. And so that's where we're saying, I think we did ask it be brought before the planning commission because Travis and I couldn't make that call. We don't.
Could you prepare that ordinance for next month's meeting?
I can make an ordinance, yes, I can do that.
And in the meantime, can we approve something here for Mrs. Reed?
I have a question.
Yeah.
I'm all for, doing what you want with your business, but I'm having a hard time reading everything on this. But if I'm reading it correctly, there's a stage, which I'm curious what that's going to be entertaining. I don't know where the property lines are or the setbacks, and there's going to be a 6-foot wall coming up to the concrete pad that's in front of the road, and then a fence, and we don't know any information about the fence. So we need to make sure we're treating everybody equally. So I'm not sure that we can just say, hey, let's go ahead with this. So I'm not sure we've got quite enough information here to go forward with it.
I agree, because we don't know what the material being used, where the lines are between the tables. Is that all gonna be,
It's all wood.
it's all wood?
Yes, I'm simply coming straight out from the building, and there's already a rock patio there where Eric had landscaped. I'm leaving the big boulders and removing some of the small ones, and I'm just doing a wooden patio that was serpentine around the big rocks. We're gonna have a small stage over. Jason Berry just got my, I saw today with the survey, he finally got it. But it would, forget the fence, I don't have to do that right now, and I'll come back, because I have some really good things I want to show you about the fence, and how attractive it's gonna be. But we felt like we wanted one part of the fence to be 6 foot, because we'd like to put an outdoor TV for people that want to come and watch football games or whatever, and sit out and do that. But that's, what I need now is just more space, because when we open up, it's gonna be, I think it's gonna be a big crowd, and I'd like to fill all these seats. And when you say RR, that's rock, and the T is for table. And then the little stage over here it's a very small little step up where we're gonna have just acoustic music, nothing loud, something soft, just, and some nights we might have, karaoke, we might have, trivia or something. But I just need more space so that when people get there, this is a great time of year to be outside for the next six or 8 weeks. And that's why I apologize. It's just been so much going on, so many other things happening to it. I apologize but I really didn't think it would be too big a deal, because the rock garden patio is already there. So we're not going any further than Harley or Eric did when he did this. So that helps. It's all wood. It's not going to be wood kind.
I think the rock garden is exemplified in the center, so it is going out further. I just think there needs to be more detail before in writing. The fact that the lines represent wood, I understand that, but I think we need to have more stuff in writing before we can say yes. That's my opinion.
If I understand the ordinance correctly, there's only 2 things that can be approved, and one of them is the site plan, the other is the sketch plan. The sketch plan is supposed to be a scale drawing. It's supposed to show distances and a lot of other things that I had a hard time printing this document in a way that I could read it very carefully, but I don't think that it meets the requirements of the sketch plan either.
Yeah, usually a sketch plan, while not as in-depth as a site plan, you do have, it does have detail. Usually it's done by a surveyor or an architect. It's usually not an engineer plan. It's usually what a sketch plan is.
We don't have any measurements on the...
Yeah, it's kind of showing what the meets and bounds, stuff like that. Again, I was not informed that she wanted to be on the agenda. And again, I'm not putting any blame on anybody for stuff, but I received, the requests, I think late Wednesday. I did not receive this thing until late Friday, and I did not review it because I didn't have adequate time to review anything. And it's one of the situations, again, this is where it's coming to the gray area. I don't think it meets the sketch plan requirement. It doesn't meet the sketch plan requirements because, number one, if it did meet it, a sketch plans only apply to those 3 things I had done previously. Everything else is a site plan requirement. So I think the issue here is, what does she want? What are you guys wanting from her to present? And then also maybe looking to kind of prevent something like this from happening in the future by putting sketch plan requirements for commercial and industrial buildings and property.
You're gonna work on the language to clean up what we talked about?
Yes, I can put sketch plan requirements together.
Is there any action we take tonight on this?
Well, it's not on the agenda currently, so you would first have to take action to add to the agenda, and then you would then have to take a motion what you want to do, with that agenda item.
I personally feel that other people have tried to we've not allowed other people to do similar things, and we need to treat everyone equally.
I can't vote on it without more detail.
I got you. And it's not on the agenda, right?
No, because
Okay.
the agenda was already sent out before anything, so you would have to add to the agenda. And again, that's where it came in, where if it is a site plan, which is the only thing it can be to be an actionable item by the planning commission, it did not meet the 30-day threshold because it wasn't submitted until last Friday.
So what you're saying is we would have to put it on November's?
Yes, if that's what you guys would
Agenda.
choose to do tonight. If you take no action, if there is no vote to add to the agenda, then it has to be on November's agenda.
Well, I know, it doesn't sound like we can take any action.
Jonathan, does it, if we are faced with this same document next month, does it meet the requirement for a site plan?
It does not. There's not enough detail on there.
Excuse me, I thought it didn't have to have a site plan.
That's,
This is it's already there. I mean,
but you are adding additions to it. I mean, it sounds like you're adding a fence, you're adding things that would be.
not right
required.
now, I'm not adding fence.
But you're going to, that's
Well,
what
and
you're
I will
proposing.
present that in the future. I just want to get open. I just want to put down some wood so people don't fall over on rocks when they come outside to sit at a table. And it's beautiful rocks, but I just want to go right on top of the rock so people don't twist an ankle going outside to sit at a table. It's really kind of a liability issue.
Perhaps you'll be able to
So I
answer
know there's
that.
issues going back and forth, and I know Ms. Deb wants to get open. Is there something that we can do, and I understand the sketch plan obviously doesn't even meet the criteria for a required sketch plan. Is there something that we can do for a special meeting for next month if she can understand the new sketch plan, get us something presentable that you guys can look at and pass through so we can help her get open? I'm just throwing suggestions out to help. And I commend you all for the selective enforcement. That's great. I'm glad we're moving the right way on it.
Here's my problem with what
Yes.
you proposed, Travis. If a sketch plan can be approved by the building official.
exactly right,
So it would not need to come to the planning commission if the applicant provided you with a proper sketch plan and you felt it was.
So I guess the question that we need to figure out is this an accessory structure? Or is it, what is it? Because I think the way the ordinance reads is, was it single family, duplexes, and accessory structures? Is that not correct?
Accessory structures and uses.
And uses. So if you guys say this is an accessory structure, then it can be a sketch plan that can go through Travis. But I do say that we do need to put sketch plan requirements in the future for additions to buildings that are under, usually 1,000 square foot is what most municipalities do. Just something, so that way somebody doesn't have to, if it's they're just adding a small room or adding,
And I was
The very
doing this,
thing,
like I said, as a standalone. That's why I pushed it to the ordinance and
Yeah.
ended up here with you guys.
but then I guess, yeah.
And
So
I'm hearing that Travis can approve it.
If the planning commission determines that the patio itself, again, as long as she's not adding, I think the fencing itself would require a site plan. That needs something, you need to have something there, or we need to have sketch plan requirements that say fencing falls under the building inspector's purview.
And the stage,
Yeah.
I can take the stage off. I mean,
So,
I just think
well,
that-
I think what she needs to do, if she's gonna do that in the future, she needs to present that. But if all she's wanting to do right now is put the patio there, and if you guys consider that a accessory structure, then Travis can handle it there.
Is the patio within the existing limits of what's there now, or are you expanding it?
Yeah, no. I was just getting ready to ask the question that when Eric Zinn purchased this property, he had to have permission, I guess, to do the rock garden, or rock patio, and the landscaping. Did he not? Would he not have to have permission to do what he did out front?
I actually don't know.
If the regulations were in place, I don't know what.
He
the
did not.
Yeah.
He didn't have to,
He wasn't, we didn't know what he was building. I mean, we didn't know. It was just all of a sudden started being something it wasn't, and then the rocks showed up and the ferns and the various things. And
I mean, it sounds like more landscaping than structural facility.
It
it's
seems
not,
that-
it's just a floor that people can walk on.
But what he did sounds kind of like landscaping, but a few boulders and plants and so
So
forth.
you saw it as being a safety issue and you're resolving,
Oh, somebody, I promise you, will, when they walk on that rock, they're gonna turn their ankle.
Now, when you say it's a patio, but it's wood, is it a deck that's raised
Yeah,
off
it's
the
like,
ground?
it's a deck that's gonna be built on top
It's
of
a
the
little
rock.
raised off the ground, so it's a little bit.
It's gonna come directly off, the building, when you walk into the building, right there, and the handicap will come up straight to where you can see where it is here. It's just a wood floor.
Now, look, I call it a boardwalk, probably
yeah,
curb high, you know.
probably shouldn't over
It's gonna
36.
join the sidewalk, right?
It's gonna be, yeah, it's not gonna be on the sidewalk. There's a concrete
I mean,
pad
it's
for
gonna-
parking and then sidewalk.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm not doing anything on a concrete pad.
Right,
It's against
okay.
the law to pull in and back out on a state highway. And I'm not doing that. So there's just gonna be space out there, concrete, between the road, the sidewalk, and then where the patio actually starts.
Do you know from any other ordinance what accessory structure means? Because I would think a deck would be an accessory structure myself.
It sounds the way that she's saying, it's almost an extension of the building rather than accessory structure. Which is
connected, right?
Yeah, but she's saying it's going from the building, it's gonna go directly out. Is that what you said?
Yeah, so people don't have to step down.
Yeah.
I mean, that's another safety. I'm trying to avoid liability here.
Which makes sense.
Yeah, I think,
I can have a step
Yeah.
down if it need be, but I just thought it made more sense to come straight out, so nobody has to step anywhere. It's just a deck.
I would say I can't really make the call here in terms, again, that's the whole reason why it's coming here, because both Travis and I really couldn't make that call.
So looking at it outside of the explanations that you're getting now, I was looking at it from the life safety aspect, right? For personal injury. And the rock garden, the boardwalk would surpass the rock garden for life safety, right? For prevention. And under international code, 3 steps or greater requires a handrail, so she was under that requirement. So, just lost them. This is another one that
It's not that big.
Well, I still say I'm not sure it's an issue. I understand boundaries, I understand sketch plans, I understand everything, but if there's no building and you're making it safer and you're not exceeding the existing limits, you're not adding another 50 feet in any direction or anything, I personally don't know why we can't move forward. But
if it were I, and there was something in place with the existing ordinance now, and we could decipher if this is a standalone or an accessory, I would approve this today on my desk. That's how I feel about it. Considering that she's going with the boardwalk and improving the life safety aspect of it. I do have questions of the fence. I think I'm a little gun shy on fences in town. But I think that we'll work that out.
No worries.
with all due respect, I think the fence is required to come to the planning commission for commercial property.
Sure.
Is that correct?
So, just talking to Miss Reed, and she's only looking for basically, I'm gonna call it an exterior wall because it's just gonna be the width for a TV. The rest of this fence is just gonna be basically a divider. I'm gonna say it's a divider between parking and slab to the deck area, the boardwalk.
Well, it's actually gonna be, the fence will actually be protection for my customers.
Right, the division.
If a
It's
car.
designated, we're looking at a document that calls it fence, right?
Yes.
That she submitted, and
Yes.
it's called it like that.
Yes. As far as the sketch, Alec, I would require, before we built off on a fence, I'd require a more in-depth and detailed provision of what we're calling a fence and.
I'm happy to provide that. I just want the deck right now where people can go at.
Well, I go back to my question. Wouldn't a fence have to come before the planning commission
Yes.
if it's commercial property?
Yes, the fence
So the answer is yes.
Yes.
So
But
when
I
you
won't
do.
build that. I won't build the fence.
No, I know.
Yeah.
But when you do,
Yes.
you'll have to come before the
I
planning commission.
understand.
I would recommend, just me talking, I'm not making a motion, but I'd recommend we let Travis make the decision.
I think if you could prepare a sketch plan that leaves off the fence and the wall for the time being, that Travis finds these requirements of the sketch plan, that he ought to be allowed to approve it, disapprove it as a accessory structure.
Is that a motion?
Do we decide?
It's really not on the agenda, so I don't know how we.
Yeah, you can't.
Well, okay. So you want to amend?
Go ahead, Nate.
So I just did a search through our zoning ordinance for the word deck, and maybe this is helpful. It appears 6 times. It appears, the closest thing we come to in a definition of deck is when it talks about gross square foot area for primary and accessory structures, and it says decks and patios are not to be included in the gross square foot areas for principal or accessory structures. So the other references to decks are just simply requiring them on mobile homes and general. It would appear as though our zoning ordinance does not consider it an accessory structure. In fact, in this definition, the total square footage for the principal and accessory structures, when calculating gross floor area for the landscaping provisions of this ordinance, gross floor area also includes any permanent areas covered by impervious surfaces such as decks and patios. So it's saying a deck is part of the landscaping. So I don't know if that's helpful or not, but it only appears 6 times in the whole zoning ordinance, in all 143 pages.
Once again, I recommend that Travis be allowed to make this decision.
Can we put this on the agenda? Can you guys vote that on the agenda, then can we vote on that and then move on? Do we have to put this on the agenda?
If you guys are making a decision, yes, you need to make, I mean, right now, all it is discussion until you guys actually add it to the agenda and figure out.
Well, it's not on the agenda now, so we can't.
So you can vote to add this to the agenda.
You can amend the agenda.
You can add it to this agenda, but you gotta figure out what you're gonna vote for, what is that vote gonna look like? Because I think Travis is wanting an official meeting where you guys say, hey, we're not doing this. We are officially telling Travis he is the one responsible for this. So it's not,
Go ahead. On what basis are we calling it a sketch plan and is this an accessory structure? It's not a site plan. What are we?
I don't think we can do anything to it with the site plan if we don't have.
What provision of the zoning ordinance are we asking Travis to enforce?
I guess he's wanting direction, support for.
No, I don't want direction. I want protection of legal and liabilities. I want you guys to put this on the agenda and then put it in my wheelhouse and I'll make a decision.
But you put it in your.
I can't do that because I don't consider this an acceptable sketch plan. And
But
so whatever she's going to bring to you is going to be something completely different than whatever this is. So how can I vote on anything? I can't.
Like Nate said, a deck is not covered by any ordinance.
Well, if you got a minute, so I've gone through now all 6 references to deck in the zoning ordinance, and 3 of them pertain only to the fact that mobile homes and patios need them. But perhaps this is under section C, page 55, health and safety requirements. Site installed features such as stairs, decks, handrails, and landings must meet all code requirements of the town of Monteagle. So there it's called a feature. I'm with Travis here. It does not seem like it's an accessory structure. It seems like something he ought to be able, and I think, are you looking for them to say,
yes,
we don't think a deck is under our purview?
No, that's right. That's right.
And that makes sense, certainly from the reading of the zoning ordinance.
And that's why I winked and nudged you when I said 3 steps or higher doesn't require handrails or any of that for a building permit, right? This is a boardwalk. I mean, she's improving the life safety aspect of this for somebody to receive personal injury. And to Katie's comment, I agree with you 1,000%. I didn't make the drawing out well myself. I mean, so that's going to come down to me saying I can't approve this until you get me a featured sketch that's revised and shows the.
Just a deck.
Yes.
And has to
Yes.
make sure it's
Yes.
within the boundaries of
And then when
setbacks.
we reach the fence, right, then that's going to require another trip to the planning commission because that's C1 zoning and you guys are going to have to make the decision to the fencing, just like I stated on a previous issue in this town.
So I think what both Nate and Travis are saying basically they want is that you take this up, add this to the agenda, and you both say that this does not require a site plan because it would not.
It's two motions.
One point to look at is the section of the code on site plan required, says it is required for a variety of developments and redevelopments. Whether building a deck is a redevelopment or a development, I think is a debatable question. If it's not, then there is no site plan requirement, unless the building official
Right. Unless we
says
change
there
it.
has to be one.
Right. I agree.
I make a motion that this matter of the Reed property in question be amended and added to the agenda. That's my motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Got a second?
Any discussion?
Any discussion? All for?
Aye.
All against? Motion carries. Dan Sargent's on the second.
Okay, now we need a motion to discuss the issue.
Need a motion to discuss this?
Yeah, all I did was amend the agenda.
Okay.
Now it's on the agenda. Now let's discuss it with a motion.
We need to make a motion to give the decision over to our building inspector to continue with this patio slash boardwalk.
For all decks. I mean, it will be turning all decks over as a sketch plan for the building inspector to decide, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's the way I agree. I agree with that. Yeah.
I mean, we can't say that just for one deck.
That's not just this, that's all. We're going, we're with the president.
Right. I mean, you don't do it on a case-by-case basis.
If that's the import of your motion, Dan, that it applies to all decks.
Yes, correct. I'll accept that, add that to my motion.
I can't hear.
The motion's been amended to accept all decks, not just this one.
Defer review on to the building official.
Commercial and residential.
But residential property don't work on that.
Okay.
Single family.
Do I have a second?
I second.
Alan seconded it.
Any discussion?
So discussion on your motion from me, if I can speak, is this is all decks. This is to be clear that any other, anything else on the site or on the project, such as her fence or anything else, is going to defer back to the original zoning ordinance. And we may have to come back before you if the decks require something that so sees on the zoning ordinance, right? So we're going to bring that back before you guys as the commission.
Right, and you're the judge.
Just making sure that I make sense with everything.
You'll be the judge of the adequacy of the drawing that is submitted. for
Correct.
approval.
Yes, sir.
And my guidance would be any building or utility impact,
Yes.
but you know that.
And setbacks, all of that.
Absolutely. It all has to be in compliance.
Are we clear on the motion?
That'd be good.
Where are we on the motion?
Ready to vote, you've had discussion, you have a
Okay.
second. All those in favor?
Where we've been talking. All those for?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Not sure where we are right now, but anyway, the motion carries.
These two people need to be talking.
Okay, let's move on. I've got Oak View subdivision, final plat, Mr. Goodman. Okay. I'm gonna pass this down.
Is this good?
What's the status of that plat?
That's the
We're
final,
looking while we're passing.
yeah, that's the final plat. It's identical to the preliminary plat that you all already approved. I believe the only thing we need tonight is the final approval. All the signatures are on the documents, And I did have a 3-to-1 lot depth variance from the preliminary plat, so I will need that on the final plat as well, but
Did you bring additional copies for
there
signatures?
is about 8 copies there. I think that's what your ordinance says.
Do you want to see it?
Jonathan, are all,
Yeah, so have all plats been signed?
Yes,
Can you guys verify
every single one of those have been signed.
You can verify that, Katie, but yeah, that's the main thing we had, so it will require another, just reaffirming the variance that was given at the preliminary plat, so it's 3-to-1 width to lot ratio.
And there are no utility issues, and the engineer has approved it.
Yes, yeah, so there's good, yeah, and he should have, and all the utilities have signed off, so they can connect to water. I think the big concern would be water, but it sounds like that was what was
you recommend it's in order for final approval.
yes.
Move that the Oakview subdivision final plat as submitted be approved by the planning commission.
Second,
A second,
We do need to reaffirm, so you'll need to make a motion to reaffirm the variance that was granted at the preliminary plat, so just do another, and then approve the plat with the variance. Because if you know, there's a note, I think it's 24, the variance is granted, so just reaffirm that variance.
Is that written on here? I've got a letter-sized copy of this here.
Yeah, it should be on the plat.
It's on the final
Yeah,
plat.
it's on the final plat, it says 24, number 24.
I move that the planning commission reaffirm the decision made on May 6, 2025, granting a variance of the lot width to depth ratio requirement.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
I second it.
We have a second, any conversation? Discussion? All those for?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Now do we
Now,
have,
vote on the plat itself.
now do we have a motion on the final plat that was submitted this evening?
I'll make a motion on the final plat as submitted
For approval?
for approval, yes.
Second.
Al, did you second?
I did second it.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those for?
Aye.
All against? Motion carries.
Thank you all.
Next on the agenda is a final plat for Dollar General. Before we get started, I need to, you're okay, I need to ask a question. We met about a year ago and Dollar General was denied a request to be considered a convenience store. We met thereafter, they were denied a request to change the zoning from C3 to C2. He was denied. So what has changed between now and then relative to, I mean, I know the answer, but I've got to ask the question.
Yes, so I think earlier this year, and Debbie sent me the signed ordinance, small box discount stores were allowed in C3, and Dollar General falls under the definition of small box discount stores.
Do you have a copy of the small box discount?
I did not bring it with me, but Debbie does have the city should have a signed copy of that. Yeah.
So you determined that Dollar General met the requirements of small
So yeah,
box?
any things like a Dollar General, Dollar Tree, whatever those, it met the definition because it's a small box discount store.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did it not have to meet any other test?
The only definition, yeah, that's the only things it had was, the square footage and then what they sold. And then I think there maybe, yeah.
Well, in the ordinances, it's talking about all the zoning. It said, these descriptions define the character and establish the principles that guide development on each of Monteagle zoning districts. If a proposed use does not specifically fit into one of the permitted land categories, the following descriptions shall be used by the Board of Zoning Appeals to determine whether or not this use may be permitted under this zoning. So if I go through the language of C3, because it's got specific, everything else is in C3. We know what a convenience store is, and we know what a truck stop is, and everything else is on here was specific. C3 says, C3, the commercial, interchange commercial district is intended to meet the special opportunities and needs of interstates and interstate highways. The district is to serve both the needs of the motoring public and commercial vehicles, as well as addressing the unique commercial opportunities and problems created by access to an interstate highway. Excluded are those uses which do not provide services or accommodations directly toward interstate traffic. So who made the determination that, I understand small boxes were approved, but who made the determination that Dollar General met the requirements of C3?
By, I believe whenever, small box discount stores, zoning ordinance, it was explicitly talked about repeatedly in discussion that this would include any type of dollar type stores.
Did it say any type of dollar store?
No,
Any type of?
but I think we're just arguing on semantics at this point. I don't think you can.
I'm not arguing, I just want to
say-
make sure that it's on the record
Yeah.
that the planning commission, number one, did not.
Well, the planning commission and no municipality, you cannot explicitly say that these type of, that a Zaxby's is allowed here or a Dollar General is allowed here or anything. You say that this use is allowed here, and so the use for Dollar General is a small box discount store. And that is the use that is allowed in C3. You don't explicitly say that any one brand or any one store is allowed in a zoning district, because you can't do that. If you allow one, you have to allow all of them that fall under that category.
So any business, so what you're saying is that any business that meets the small box definition,
Small box discount store.
okay, which would include a fireworks sales place.
I think fireworks would fall under that. It's not a discount store. It would
Well,
fall
how do you know?
under-
How do we know it's not? What if it puts up a sign and it says it's discount fireworks, 2 for 1?
There's, I think, within the ordinance, it talks about the general use items that are allowed, because that's what stuff that we had added in the ordinance that has to sell, these type of retail items at a discount price, which
So the
fireworks
fact
don't
that-
fall under retail items. There's also other regulations for fireworks within state law.
Maybe that was a bad example.
Yeah.
So the fact that it does not meet the description in C3 doesn't matter.
I would say it does, because Dollar Generals serve, you're going to serve interstate traffic. You're going to be coming off, and they're going to come and get, they're going to get a drink or get some other things there, and then go and leave and get back on the interstate. I think that is.
So in your mind, there was never a question that it should have gone to the BZA?
I don't think it would fall, because the use is there. The use is allowed in C3. I think I couldn't tell them, there's nothing that would say they need to go to BZA, because based off of the plain reading of that ordinance, they fall under a discount, small box discount store. Under,
But it was your decision.
I think,
City council passed.
the city council passed the ordinance, the planning commission,
Passed the ordinance that was written, but it was your decision that it met, Dollar General met.
I think any type of dollar stores would fall under a small box discount store regulation.
Okay, so it was your decision.
If you want to say that's kind of, I don't understand.
Okay, well, I'm sorry, you come on.
Thank you, Chairman, Mayor, members of the Planning Commission, Jonathan, town personnel, appreciate y'all. I'm Monty Turner, developer for the proposed project. I have the plat here where we're creating 2 lots down there. It has been signed by everyone except the Secretary of the Planning Commission, so I'll leave these up here. Jonathan, unless you want them over there to double check.
Yeah, give me one, please.
Just one here, because somebody.
Oh, and Jonathan brought it over, I couldn't read it.
And then I have 6 copies of the site plan.
Yeah, we'll get to them. We have to go through the plat first.
Okay.
Y'all have one?
Make sure we know this.
Can I start? I'll just start with my favorite questions. This final plat is what we're ruling on now, and it shows everything it should show as a plat, and there's no questions to zoning, utilities, any issues? Is it a subdivision?
It is, well, it is a subdivision of property, so it's, both of them are under 5 acres.
Right.
They're dividing the property. The reason why it has to come to planning commission and look for staff approval is because they're doing the site plan at the same time. So they have to, it's just like we did with the Hampton Inn, where they did the plat and site plan
Understood.
the same night. We would have to do the same here. The plat has to be approved before
Okay.
the site plan can be approved.
Of the total parcel, is it one owner?
Please, yeah, I think that's, I'm assuming this is all contingent, like all this is,
Correct.
your sale is contingent upon all this being approved.
Correct. It's one owner presently, and then I'll retain ownership of or purchase once everything's approved. The Dollar General lot, I think it's lot 1 on the plat.
And then the other lot will be available for sale, or that's yours as well?
No, sir, that's my seller.
Fine, okay.
He'll retain ownership of that, where the canopy is right now.
Jonathan, the copy of the final plat that came with it in the agenda had a number of notes, I assume from you, about what needs to be added and removed. Have all of those things been done?
So that was for the site plan, but
It's on
the plat
final-
itself,
It's on the final plat. I'm looking at a bunch of green ink notes, so that's things that need to be changed.
oh yeah, okay. So that. Yes, yeah, sorry, I was looking at, yes, it does. So I changed, oh yes, so if you look at, I added this, and then you look at the next page was the final one they had. So this is where I put my final, so it does meet the minimum, yeah, all the minimum qualifications. So this was what I asked, the first page was my initial review, and I asked them to add all this. The second page is showing where they made their corrections.
Okay.
The only thing I will,
This matches the second.
yeah, so the only thing I will say is with the second page, let's see. Yes, it does have everything they have on the second page, yes. Because the only thing was the town engineer asked them to make sure that they showed a 20-foot easement for the existing sanitary sewer, which they already had on there. They didn't have it, I think, on the initial site plan, but they did have it on the plat.
Any other discussion? Questions, comments?
Alan, are you satisfied? That those conditions are met?
Once Jonathan pointed me at the
Yeah, okay. I just want to make sure. Do you want to
I move that
Oh, go ahead.
commission approve the final plat of RHA Enterprise property with the drawing date of September 26th, as reviewed by Jonathan on October 2.
I have a
Second.
motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any more discussion? All those for?
Aye.
All against? Motion carries. Okay. I think
Well,
you-
wait, there's a part 2?
Yeah,
Okay, I'm sorry.
I think you're back up for the site plan.
Yes, sir. Again, thank you, members of the Planning Commission, Mayor, and Jonathan. We're proposing a 10,640 square foot Dollar General. No variances are requested. Here to answer any questions you might have. We meet the parking requirements. Town engineer and Jonathan have gone over our drainage and detention pond calculations. As far as the landscaping, I think I'm certain we meet the requirements there, but if there's any questions, I'll be happy to answer those.
Well, I had a question from a long time ago. I just want an update. Is this going to be any type of supermarket or grocery store as in Tracy City?
They will, it will not be as big as the Tracy City store, but it will have groceries. Yes, sir.
Thank
You
you.
could hand out the site plan to them. So I did review this. I put my initial review on there, and then I showed what their, at the time, what was the most recent plan. They did change it slightly by adding the, where the sanitary sewer, they showed the 20-foot easement, just like it was on the plat.
Thank you.
That's the only change from the previous site. I think that also there was a close out of the sewer. What the town engineer requested. But the town engineer did say that stormwater was good and we had no issues with the utilities. He just wanted them to make sure they labeled the easement and then close out the sewer on the plat, on site plan. And they did make all the changes I requested. I did ask them to make sure they had screening all around the property because it's a C3 property. So when C3 pouring C3, which it does, has to have screening. And then C3 also across from any residential has to have screening, which it does. So they added screening all around, and that they are leaving the existing, which I think portion of that is actually part of the park. Like all those trees there is right next to the park, or the walking track over there. So that I don't think they can actually remove those trees because it's half on their property and half on the city's property.
Just generally, what's your timeline to start construction?
We'd like to start dirt work here in the next 2 to 3 weeks. The vertical part of it will take about 4 months, so around February or March, say we'd be complete. A lot of that depends on how tough the weather is in the winter.
Of course. Thank you.
I also did talk with TDOT, and they approved the access for this, since it's obviously off Dixie Lee, which is the state highway.
Is there access and egress or
Yeah, ingress and egress is the,
at the same location or separate?
It's, the same location. There is an access easement shown on both the plat and the site plan, so that's going to be, so you can have access for both. That bottom lot there can also access that in the future.
Are they both on the highway or are they on Sampley end?
Well, the bottom one can get access off Sampley, but that's not part of this site plan. Their only access is going to be off Dixie Lee. I think originally there were talks about a right-of-way up here, which we were not sure existed. I couldn't find any evidence that there was an actual Lindsay Avenue. The deeds that I looked at said that there was an abandoned county road, which I assume meant Lindsay Avenue, which, if that's the case, it's not even a right-of-way that is owned by the city, and I don't think the city would ever approve a road going through there to Overton. So that's their only access. I believe there are issues accessing further up because of the spike strip.
Correct.
And there's, it was going to be difficult to determine who actually owned that property, or found all the heirs.
Correct.
So there will be access on Sampley though also,
Not for this property.
not for this property where the store is.
Yeah, no, they're not going to have access. It's going to be Dick City where they're showing the access. I guess what we need to make sure is the other lot doesn't matter in this situation. It's not part of
Very
the,
good.
But you still own the other lot.
No, sir, I don't, and I will not.
he's looking just to buy this property up here, which was just,
The gentleman I'm purchasing from will retain ownership of the corner lot. And we will provide him, since we move the access down, there's no way he could get another drive permit from TDOT. So we're providing him with an access easement off of our driveway. And I have no idea in the future if he'll have come in with a site plan that shows access off of Sampley or not. I don't know.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Is this going to be a more attractive Dollar General, or is it going to be your basic?
It's going to be an upgrade over the basic metal. What we're going to have is brick and hardy board on this building. There will be no metal exterior on this building. If that's your definition of an improvement, I don't know, but it typically is.
But I might not be seeing it, but I might not have gotten to it, but what's your pylon sign gonna look like, or what's the height gonna be?
That's on the first page after, you'll see there, the roommate pylon sign. Bottom.
Okay.
Yeah, and I
'cause can't
checked
open
it to
that
make sure
far.
it met the regulations that Monteagle has for pylon.
They typically, Dollar General will come in separately, I'm just their developer, and apply for their sign permits. Typically, they'll want a 20-foot tall pylon unless there's a monument sign requirement. And I think their panel size is 5 by 10, so 50 square feet of actual sign face.
What was put on here is 97.17 square feet sign
Of
face.
sign face.
And then the height was, let's see, this is around, was 30, well over 30 feet. Both of them fall within Monteagle's sign regulations. Because I checked that to see, and if you're going to propose a sign, it does have to be on the site plan, usually it is. Now, if you do in the future want to change that in any way, then you would have to resubmit to the planning commission.
Okay.
Is the landscaping certificate on the final page signed?
No,
Okay, those will need to be signed before she can sign off on that, if it does get approved. You'll have to sign off the landscaping certificate.
The engineer,
No, I believe the landscaping certificate has to be signed off by you, or whoever is usually it's the owner or whoever's certifying, yeah, it says the owner certifying. So in this situation, whoever is going to be the owner, whoever's guaranteeing that they're going to put the landscaping as shown, needs to sign off on it.
okay. Do I need to sign all copies of the site plans?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. If the site plan does get approved.
Sure.
This has come up before from time to time, and I think I'm reading this correctly, but let me ask anyway to get it on the record. Your impervious surface area, what's the parking lot going to be? Because as you probably know, this area feeds our primary water source. So is it pervious, impervious, how much?
It will be impervious concrete.
Concrete?
Yes, sir.
And that was, the stormwater was reviewed by your town
I just-
engineer, Travis. Yeah.
It's been an issue in the past, and I just wanted to address, quite frankly, on your behalf. Thank you for that.
Sure.
our motion.
More questions, discussion? Do I have a motion?
I make a motion, we accept the site plan as delivered to us with all the attachments.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second. Any other discussion?
I just wish we were doing something with those little buildings on the other lot.
All those for?
Aye.
All against? Motion carries.
Thank you.
You will gather those back in this.
Putting the signature on these.
Thank you very much. Thank you. There is one more issue. There is one more issue. No, I just want Dave to make a comment on the pipe. On the pipeline. Capacity.
I understand all that, that's what I'm.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I move to amend the agenda so that we can, tonight, review and approve or not, a motion that I propose to submit to correct a housekeeping problem with our zoning ordinance, which for some reason seems to have confused the concepts of opacity and transparency in respect to the requirements for fencing. I don't think the motion itself will be controversial if we can get permission to consider it.
Second the motion to amend.
We have a second. Any discussion? All those for?
Aye.
All against? Motion carries.
Okay, here's the motion, substantive motion. I move that the Planning Commission recommend to the Monteagle Mayor and Board of Aldermen, and Debbie, I'll give you a copy of this, so I'm going to speak fast. Amendment of the Monteagle zoning ordinance as follows. In sections 715B1 and 715B3, the third line of each, replace the word opacity with the word transparency. Further, that the Planning Commission find that all of the grounds for an amendment specified by section 1207C of the ordinance exist.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a question before we go forward with this, since I would have to draft up this or figure out the language. What is the reason changing it from opacity to transparency?
Because
It's wrong.
I don't know how it got this way.
Well, because there's a definition of opacity in the zoning ordinance that talks about how, I looked at it very briefly whenever Alex sent it to me, I think yesterday.
The definition is wrong. It defines opacity as having very little or no through visibility, whereas opacity means having no visibility. Opacity means you can't see through it. So minimal opacity would be a lot of transparency. And more importantly, I think, that has to do with screening fences. In the reference to residential fences, the ordinance requires a minimum opacity of 50%. And that means every split rail fence in any residential yard in this town is probably illegal. A lot of picket fences and other wrought iron fences, because this means you've got to have, it's got to be at least 50% opaque, and it could be up to 100% opaque. Whereas I believe the reasonable requirement, and probably the intended requirement, is that it be at least 50% transparent. Otherwise, we want to allow a lot of fairly typical and desirable residential fences. I think Nate recognizes, and we've discussed this same problem.
Yeah, it's just backwards.
Okay, I just wanted to figure out will we have a definition for transparency? Because we have a definition for opacity, So we need to have something to go by and say,
Do we need a definition of every word that's in the dictionary?
I don't know, I'm just trying to figure out what, yeah. I guess we're changing it, then we're just, yeah. But
Or you could say less than 50% opacity, but I mean, transparency makes more sense.
The reason I didn't do that is because the introduction to this talks about setting minimum standards, and so I thought I'd continue to go with minimums instead of,
I mean, transparency, we could just add a definition for
you mind if I
transparency.
look at, I want to see, do you have the definition of opacity in the zoning ordinance, so I can look at things? So very little,
well, the issue there is minimal opacity.
Very little or no through. So opacity in this situation means whether or not you can see through it.
Right.
And minimal means that
You can barely
see through it. And I guess I'm trying to figure out is that you don't want, how does the language want to be?
Well, can I have that back?
Yeah.
This is dealing in residential, right?
Well, it's the screening fences, so you want to have very little transparency.
See, the problem is that
If it's screened.
the whole sentence says this: screening fences shall have minimal opacity, which is good, i.e. very little or no through visibility, which is the opposite of minimal opacity. That very little or no through visibility is
Does
minimal
opacity mean
transparency.
that you can see through it? Right?
No,
Is it not?
transparency.
No
means-
transparency.
It's the absence of transparency.
I see what you're saying.
They say minimal opacity, that's fine, except then they say i.e. very little or no through visibility, which is not minimal opacity. That's minimal transparency.
So I don't think, Alex, that we had seen that. It is defined correctly in here. It is used incorrectly.
Right. Any other
Could
discussion?
you pull, yeah. Sorry, what is the definition of opacity in the zoning ordinance?
Page 110, opacity is a measurement indicating the degree of obscuration of light or visibility. That is
So you
correct.
want to have high, yeah, you want to have high opacity. Then
We
couldn't
don't
you-
want to have high opacity in residential fences. We've already required that, but we don't want that.
Well, that's screening. Screening is, you're trying to block people from seeing,
I understand
Now,
that.
Jonathan, it's just the opposite. So right now, our ordinance says that screening fences shall have minimum opacity, and residential fences shall have a minimum of 50% opacity, which is backwards. A screening fence,
Minimum meaning
you
you
would
can't
like
see
to
through it.
be opaque, so it would need to have maximal opacity
Or minimal
and
transparency.
minimal transparency.
Yeah.
And a residential fence, you would like to have less than 50% opacity or more than 50% transparency.
wouldn't you just want to change that to say maximum opacity instead of?
I did, that's not my motion. The thing that says
Yeah.
the following are minimal requirements, and therefore to say, the next paragraph that sets a maximum requires further amendment of the language.
We have a motion on the table. Any other discussion? Do I have a second?
A second.
Good. We have a second. All those for? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries.
What sections do I need to change?
The ones I read, 715B1 and 715B3.
Okay. Could you?
I'll give you a copy.
Yeah.
It's actually in it under dumpsters. It's misdefined on section 703 as well, or it's misused in section 703 as well. Page 65, it says the dumpster revetment shall have minimal opacity.
Could we maybe change, like, have me find all these sections and bring it in an actual document you guys can see for next month's meeting?
Sounds good.
Okay. So I guess the question is, because you guys have already approved to send it, right? But what do we? I guess what do you guys want me to do from here to our next meeting?
Could you write up a proposed ordinance?
Okay, I propose that. Okay, so I guess
And add
let's
section
change.
703, I guess.
Yeah.
It's in the zoning ordinance 5 times. You could replace all occurrences with the word transparency and it would work, because as defined, opacity is defined as a measurement indicating the degree of obscuration of light or visibility. Transparency is also a measurement.
There's some place that apply.
They're just inversion. They're just the inverse of each other. But it occurs 5 times, Jonathan, in the zoning ordinance.
Can you give him all the places?
Yeah, you control that.
And I have well, when we're through with this, I have another question. The gas station / convenience store that we approved a couple of years ago by Piggly Wiggly. I've had a lot of calls about that and people asking about how it's being built and the height and everything. And so I looked back at our notes, and it doesn't appear to be what we approved.
The building is not
Yeah.
to,
It looks like what we approved had 2 drive-in windows. That doesn't have any kind of drive-through behind it. It looks taller than what we approved. It definitely isn't the same design in the front. I'm just curious what the process is.
Where's
when people
this
don't-
located?
By the Piggly
Grant, can you
Wiggly.
see if Travis is still here?
So I'm just curious what the process is when, that seems like that should have been something that came back before us versus something that just,
Well, there was extended
changed.
conversation about the footprint of that facility with the drive-through and the fire
Right.
trucks being able to get access to
Right.
the back.
yeah.
There's supposed to be access between the wall
Yes,
and the building, and Travis wanted to be sure he could get that.
yes.
drive-through effect.
Sure, it looked like there is.
Travis, there's come a question as far as the site plan that was approved by the commission on the shell or whatever it's gonna be.
Yes, the convenience store, yes.
And what's being built.
So the original site plan, was in controversy over the drive-through window on I call it the Hardee's end, not the Piggly Wiggly side, but the east side. The developer, was it the developer? Who was it that called and asked the question? The property owner called and asked the question if they could do away with that drive-through window. And I said, you're changing the site plan. Because the big controversy in the beginning of that was the building moving back, right? And we argued about a fire lane to bring the building forward to give access for egress and ingress.
Right.
The drive-through window being changed on that, I told him I would recommend leaving the window on the building and just, if you're not gonna use it, don't use the window.
So he's not trying to move it, he just didn't want it.
He just didn't want it. So the original franchisee that was gonna move in with him, I think, to my understanding, had withdrew. And now this was gonna be a totally different mercantile that was gonna go on the end store, and they didn't need a drive-through.
Are there any height restrictions or any issues there?
I looked that up, but I don't remember, I don't want to quote anything because I don't have anything in front of me, but I looked it up and the original plan showed 25, or I don't remember what it was, 25, 27 foot wall. So I actually did go down and look that up because somebody asked me that.
And Travis, I remember, and I think it went before the BZA.
It did, yes.
Yeah, we had a discussion.
Yes.
As I recall, during our discussion, there was a lot of concern about the inability potentially to get vehicles, including fire trucks, around behind
Yes.
the building.
So
And now, how was it, what was the final approved building permit? Did it have requirement?
no, he took all that, the wraparound, if I remember right, he took everything out of that. He took, because the only wraparound portion of that was for the drive-through. He was worried about the drive-through. The BZA, if I'm not mistaken, they was asking about front door deliveries, wasn't it?
I'm trying to make sure I'm understanding, because I've just been submitted something that was, I think 714 West Main Street. Is this the same property?
Yes.
Or is this a different property?
I'll tell you.
Or something? Because the way I understand it, I looked at the minutes, this was from January 2023. I started here in October 2023.
That sounds right,
January 2023, in that planning commission meeting, the planning commission rejected the site plan and listed multiple things that had to be done. The BCA, there were, amongst them was the 30-foot rear setback for the loading zone. They have to have the loading zone there. And they would have to get the BZA to waive that requirement, which I believe the BZA did waive that requirement. I could not find anything, and maybe I need to look more, ask C, but I could not find anything that an approved site plan was ever done by the planning commission. I guess that's where I had some issues, and they resubmitted a site plan and a landscaping plan to me, because that's also the other thing. They didn't have landscaping plan. I have not gotten able to review that yet, because I had.
I don't remember it ever actually coming back and my
So
signing anything.
that is my thing, is I think the site plan right now, they can't begin construction, they can't even get a building permit because they don't have an approved site plan. Based off.
Well, they're halfway built.
I'll get gas at the mall.
Is this, let me stick, so is this, Jeff, then I need to look to see what's here, because this, I don't know what happened, again, that's all the records I have.
To figure out, yeah, the building standing, I went back to figure out what got approved. I went back to all the notes. I couldn't find anything where I made notes that I signed anything, but I found my notes of what got approved.
Because all I saw was
I
a
never got
denial.
anything from the BZA of what was approved. Nobody ever brought me a site plan or called me in to sign anything.
What I'll do is I'll send you what I got yesterday and see if
This
it's
is
the same.
740 West Main, I've got an extensive file on the corner.
But I don't know
Let me make
what
sure this is
sign
actual
thing you,
same.
I mean, do you have my signed site plan to issue a building permit?
Coming back to us after
No.
Did they have a deck?
I think this might be different.
This is a really narrow one, Virginia.
So this building is right up in the office. We've been dealing with this for like 2 years.
Since 2022.
So let me, before we go any, I will see what was actually submitted to me and see if this is the same thing.
Because it started with Anya.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because I was submitted a landscaping plan from Newhoff Architects.
It was Newhoff.
And
Because I've been going through all my files.
which doesn't make sense to me why I have landscaping plans because a landscaping plan has to be approved with the site plan. So they should have already been approved when they got there. So the question is, if they've already started building, they're building stuff, what exactly am I reviewing? Because it sounds like they've been given a building permit.
They have, 469 is the
Yeah.
building permit number, and it was issued.
I'll forward that to you, forward what I received and see if it's the
And
same
the last
thing.
stop that I recall on this was BZA.
But it should have come back to me after BZA.
That's correct,
Do
yes.
you have a signed site plan?
I've got the site plan that he sent me on digital, that's all I have.
But you're supposed to get a signed site plan back at the office.
Okay.
Yeah, in that situation, I don't know, I also don't know why they even sent one. They've already started construction, so I need to verify this is the
Well, I don't
same
know.
building, this is the same development, because we may be talking about two very different things that maybe Newhoff was working with two different
We've
developers.
never heard anything about anything on that site other than a convenience.
Yeah, I need to, and that's what I saw there. It's a pretty narrow lot. They put a lot packed in there. They have a gas station, they have, and there's landscaping, which I'm not even sure the landscaping fits. They met the landscaping requirements. I haven't done any intense research, review on it. I'm just trying to figure out what exactly I was sent, and I started looking the records for that. I couldn't find any approvals. So I was under the assumption this was not an approved site plan. I did not know that they'd already started construction, which kind of defeats the purpose of the site plan. Unless you do a stop work
well-
order.
That's all I have.
Ma'am? That all you got?
I just want to make sure the original thing for Alex's motion, and this was, are we bringing it back for next month, or do I just need to send it directly to Debbie for the city commission's next meeting?
Well, considering that Nate has found some other places that might need to be included, I think we ought to revisit it next month
Okay.
with a proposed ordinance in our hands.
So I can just go ahead, I'll go ahead and do that. And so you want me to find all places where it says opacity and change, or opacity and change it to transparency?
Unless they got, I haven't read all those other things.
Yeah.
Unless they got it using it correctly.
Yeah.
Some of those with opacity are correct, right? They're not, none of them?
The definition is correct, the usage is incorrect.
Okay.
Every one. They want.
Even
they want-
on the-
They want minimal opacity around your ravette and around your dumpster. I mean,
What if y'all, instead of kicking this down the road, what if y'all just said everywhere the word opacity is used, you insert transparency, make a motion to that, and that way it can go to the, we can go to the council next meeting.
yeah, because it's going to take a while to take effect. But
I thought it was more, I thought there was, the definitions were wrong in some areas.
well, there is. So, hang on, I think I still got the search up.
So just replacing the word wouldn't work.
It would in the.
Well,
would in the screening-
except that-
It would in the screening fence, instance that I was just talking about.
So let me, since we're here, there are 5 occurrences. So occurrence number 1, page 65, section 703E. Refuse receptacles, dumpsters shall be located outside of the public right-of-way and concealed on all 4 sides with evergreen plantings or a screening fence as outlined in section 715. Access to the dumpster shall be provided by a gate with minimal opacity. So that is incorrect use number 1. You want your gate to cover your dumpster. Number 2 is on page 72, which is section 715, fencing requirements under fencing classifications in section B. Fences up to 8 feet in height are permitted. This is residential fences. Fences up to 8 feet in height are permitted in the side and rear yard of residential districts and may be placed on the lot line. Front yard fences in residential districts shall have a minimum opacity of 50%. So there again, it's used incorrectly. We want our front residential fences to have.
That was one that was in my motion.
Yep, that was in the motion. The next one occurs on page 73 under security fences. The primary purpose of a security fence is to restrict access to a structure or area of property. In general, security fences required by this ordinance shall have a height between 6 and 10 feet. Opacity requirements shall be determined by the Planning Commission based on safety considerations and the need to screen the interior area. Could be
That doesn't sound-
construed.
That doesn't sound to me like that's necessarily wrong.
No, but you could replace it with transparency and it would work just the same. Occurrence number 4 in section 3 of the same. Screening fences are intended to limit noise, dust, and visibility between adjacent properties and land uses. In general, screening fences required by this ordinance shall have minimal opacity. So used incorrectly there. And it says in parenthetical reference here, i.e. very little or no through visibility, which is not the definition of opacity. And then the 5th occurrence is in the definition of opacity, where it defines it as a measurement indicating the degree of obscuration of light or visibility.
That's correct. That is a correct.
That is a correct definition, it's just incorrectly used. And that is the only 5 occurrences in the entire 143 pages, according to Adobe.
Okay, how about that? It sounds to me you're talking about 703E, 715B1, B2, and B3.
Make sure I get it right here. 703E,
Yeah. 715B1,
correct,
B2, and
Correct.
B3.
B2, and B3, correct.
I move that we negate the motion that or the approval of the motion that I presented. And instead, we have to vote on that point right now.
Second.
We have a motion and a second.
I second.
Any discussion? All for?
Aye.
All against? Motion carries.
Then I move that the commission recommend to the mayor and board of aldermen amendment of the Monteagle zoning ordinance by replacing the word opacity with the word transparency in sections 703E, 715B1, 715B2, and 715B3. And further, that the commission find that all the grounds for an amendment specified by section 1207C the ordinance exists.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those for?
Aye.
All against? Motion carries. Any other business? Go ahead.
I just wanted to give you all an update. So we formed a subcommittee several months ago to work with Kronberg and Associates to work through our zoning ordinance and try to correct some things and make it a little bit more amenable to downtown development. So we are, I would say, 80% there. So that committee, just so you know, consists of Alec Mosley, the mayor, myself, Grant Fletcher, Iva Michelle, Dean Lay, and who else? Katie Trahan, yes. Is there somebody else on this? That got it right. I think we're 80% of the way there. We're gonna have a meeting on the 14th at 3 o'clock where we're gonna review what we have come up with and try to come up with some recommendations for y'all on boundaries. So that would be looking at our current C1 and trying to identify, is it correct? Do we want to we suggest you move things? In anticipation of the Planning Commission, of Jonathan turning this into an ordinance and the Planning Commission taking it up. In talking with several of the members of the committee, what we think we'd like to do is after we've had our meeting on the 14th and we're on sort of the same page, we'd like to have a workshop with the Planning Commission to help y'all understand sort of what's in it. And then also talk to some affected property owners before we have Jonathan turn it into an ordinance. That's the suggestion we have, but I came here today to get you folks' feedback on it. Does that seem like an appropriate way to do? That would put us on track for, Lord willing and the creek don't rise, reviewing an ordinance perhaps in December or January for making recommendation to the Planning Commission.
What's your date for the second meeting, for the joint meeting?
Well, it would be sometime probably before Thanksgiving
You understand?
that we would do. We haven't established that yet. But I'm asking if that seems like the proper order of operations.
Was there talk of a town hall meeting?
So there will be an official town hall meeting as part of any, there'll be a public meeting as part of any zoning review. I think prior to that official town meeting, we're going to shop it to some of the downtown property owners. In fact, some of the downtown property owners are going to be in our meeting on the 14th as we sort of talk through where we think we are. Together with this is the idea for a residential overlay for the surrounding districts that would, under certain circumstances, allow some density upgrades. It wouldn't involve any rezoning per se. It's an overlay district that would be triggered when a high level of development happens. This group, we're going to be learning about, I've shared this residential overlay with them, and we're all reviewing it, and we're going to go over it with the planners on the 14th. So I can talk less about that. I can say C1, I'm pretty excited about most of it. It involves reducing minimum lot sizes. It frees people up to do more creative things downtown, gets rid of a lot of the parking regulations that with small lots have prohibited our development downtown, adds some fenestration requirements to make sure that things are aesthetically pleasing. But in all in all, I think it's going to promote some development downtown. Does that seem like an appropriate sort of timeline for everybody?
Sounds good.
All right, thanks.
Any other business? Anybody? Travis?
So I got, the email that was sent to me regarding this Monteagle market was on 9/24. And that's the site plan that he sent me. Now, of course, I know that doesn't mean anything. He also included the minutes in this site plan. So this was kicked to BZA, 740 West Main Street, Monteagle Convenience Restaurant Fueling Station, site plan and zoning ordinance amendment request. There was a discussion. Mr. Dan Sargent made the motion to approve the site plan with 3 conditions. The 3 conditions were an engineering plan be submitted. The BZA must approve a variance for a 40-foot setback on all sides adjoining a right-of-way and a approval of a zoning ordinance amendment altering the requirement for a 30-foot rear setback for unloading and loading. Mr. Greg Rollins seconded the motion that passed 6-2 with Katie Trahan and Richard Black voting no. So that was attached with his site plan that he sent me.
But I don't know that he ever updated his site plan and we never saw it again.
And you just brought it to my attention, and that was the only question that I had. I mean, somewhere this site plan is floating, because I've got the electronic copy.
Can I see
So it was
the
approved
copy?
based on, and qualified based on 3 conditions.
Yes.
And then part of that had to go to BZA and
I'd like to see it go to the mayor and board of aldermen.
And I've looked at our current zoning ordinances, and that has not been updated. I don't know if it ever got through the mayor and board of aldermen.
So how can we?
I was gonna say, what's the next step?
That's what I'm saying, how can we rectify it? I want it off my records.
So he's bringing it, I mean, he submitted to me, Newhoff, so they sent to me a landscaping and site plan, so I will look over it and see.
Well, number one, we need to see his updated
Yeah.
site
we got a little
plan.
housekeeping.
And that needs to come here.
Yeah, again, I don't know where this all came, because I talked to Garrett, you know, who's you guys' previous planner, I asked him, hey, what's this, and I don't think I mean, again, that happened, Anya, I'm not gonna go,
Well,
anyway,
yeah,
there's some stuff where, there's a disconnect, we don't know what exactly, the only records I have was from January, where it was, the meeting minutes that I have shows that it was denied. I don't know any records of
February,
approval.
is when it came back, and those minutes were February.
Those were February of 2023?
Yes, I think.
But though, according to what Travis read us, there were 2 requirements, and we don't know, when we think of BZA did.
Yeah, I would have to look to see what the BZA,
I don't
and then,
know that
I've
the
never seen those minutes.
zoning ordinance was passed by the town.
Yeah, I don't either.
That was a
So I know,
condition.
and I mean, as far as me on the inspection side, I know there was some extensive work that went into it. I know Travis Wilson was contacted about the lift station. I know we battled back and forth about the drive-through and the egress. I mean, there's substantial items on my file that, I mean, means nothing to you guys, but that's on the inspection category. So, as far as your site plan, I have no idea. I know we can get gas there.
Well, one thing,
have they started building the building itself?
Oh, yeah, it's built.
It's built.
they
I
were
just-
putting the glass
Is it
door.
flushed against the wall, or is
It's
it?
flush against it because I got them on life safety aspect for the height, and I told them they was gonna have to have some kind of railing because there's a rear exit back there with the sidewalk. The sidewalk meets code, but I still want
I
something.
don't really
else.
know. I guess my thought process here is somewhere there was a miscommunication of what the site plan was. Again, we don't, you know, on our end, I don't even know why I received something if they already had a building up, I guess is my
Maybe
question.
they have suddenly realized that,
Yeah, but I don't know, I mean, if you guys reject the site plan, what does that do? You can't, the building is built the way it
They
is.
need to get the site plan
Yeah.
in.
Yeah,
And I'm just gonna make a suggestion that we never again approve a site plan with conditions
Please
like
don't,
that.
no.
In the future,
yeah.
if we're gonna have conditions, we don't approve it. They need to meet the conditions and then they come back to us.
Yeah.
So never again.
Yes.
That's the way things fall through the
I like
cracks.
Absolutely, and I think that's part of the punch list project that you did, Jonathan, for us, and part of adding the utility part. I agree with Katie, I don't like conditions.
Yeah.
Who decides that the conditions were met? What's the timelines? And it only delays it. And if someone comes in with a complete set, there may not be a need for conditions if they follow the punch list.
And that's why I always ask
Well, and
a
I think-
developer to bring
And
their
that was one of
plans.
the, you know, that's one of the reasons why I was opposing the sketch a while ago, because, you know, you say, well, I'm not gonna do the fence now. Well, how do we know that? You know, it shows the fence here, so it's the same thing. You can't approve something, on someone's word, and
If the sketch
Just
hadn't
what gets us
had
in
the
trouble.
fence on it, it would be one thing, but it's showing it, so
Yeah,
we
I
don't know.
I understand.
The site,
Well,
the
they're
si-
the new
so the site plan, even if they got the conditions, was not valid without the signature
Without the
of the
signature.
Secretary. of
It shouldn't
Planning.
be.
That's
but
right.
The whole reason why you have a site plan is because the site plan is what you use when you get your building permit. And they've already been issued a building permit, they've already built. I can review, I can put it there, I guess my thing is, you know, we're kind of in a situation where the milk has been spilled. Like, you can't put it back in. We can't say, unless we tell them, you gotta tear this down and build it. You can't do that.
Did they get a building permit?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But if we
they're actually
approve
one of
the
the,
pending 3 things and those 3 things
Yeah.
happen, it's more housekeeping than it is.
Yeah, I mean, I'll check to see all the housekeeping and bring for next
But I
month's
don't
meeting.
know that the ordinance ever passed, because it's not in our ordinances that you have online.
Yeah, I'll have to look and see what we have,
Ordinances
yeah.
on their website do not include the codification that was done in 2024.
Yeah, well, yeah, I need to get all the stuff from, all the ordinance we've had
Actually,
updated.
it's before 2000.
you ought to be an ordinance officer in this town.
Well, the ones on Jonathan's website doesn't include the,
Not a couple of days ago when I was looking to find these references,
well, where do you get them?
he emailed it to me, but it's not on his firm's website.
It should be the 9, yeah, that was from 923. I don't have the codified 924 because,
You sent it to me the other day.
yeah, I sent to you, but I do need,
Well,
all.
where are we supposed to find the
It's not on the town's
ordinances?
website either.
Well, I know it's not on the town's, that's why I went to.
Yeah, it shouldn't be much different from the 2. I think right now, I need to get the final stuff. I am not aware of anything that we've passed in the last year and a half that deals with that.
But if the town passed an ordinance that dealt with that, it probably wouldn't be on your 2023 version.
Well, if it's a zoning ordinance, then the town should be in the zoning ordinance.
But if we have a current zoning ordinance,
Yeah.
Jonathan, whatever your research is, if you can keep
Yeah, I'll look,
Katie in the
yeah.
loop, let her be our point person on this, keep.
Yeah, I'll need to talk with Debbie and make sure I get all the signed ordinance we've had in this year, because that's where the update is with everything. I haven't been able to update those yet. But I don't think those have anything to do with the site plan, because it was, yeah.
But if you'll keep Katie in
Yeah,
the loop,
yeah.
where you're fine.
That would be great.
So where are we gonna go with this line of convenience store? Are you gonna follow up with the site plan tomorrow, or?
Yeah, I'll look over and, because I haven't looked deeply into it because it wasn't going to be addressed at this month's meeting. And, we have another month before we address it. But I also had a lot of questions concerning what was I even submitted and why, because they didn't give me, I talked to someone to say, hey, we're required to submit a landscaping plan, which put a lot of red flags in my mind because a landscaping plan should always be with the site plan. So why is a landscaping plan happening multiple years after the fact?
Yeah. I remember talking about the landscaping plan.
Well,
with this.
one of the big problems was every time Anya asked for something, she would mark it up, she'd ask for something, or multiple things, and they'd come back with one thing, and should ask for additional things. So then they were getting really upset that they weren't getting approved.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking that I'm just speculating. I think that they went to the BZA because I followed this all the way through the BZA, and they were under the stipulations, once they got the approval there, they were out. That's what I'm thinking in my mind, and there's no documentation to support that. But it would be, it would follow what the 3 conditions were on the minutes.
But,
I don't know.
so, it was a long, ongoing thing.
Yeah,
They
that
would
was
never
described.
submit
Yeah,
everything
there was
they were
a
asking.
lot of issues with the site plan. I know because I looked at the review from January, and Chad, my supervisor, looked at it because I think it became so an issue that we had to make sure that everybody was involved in looking at this and seeing what the issues were and rectifying, because putting a lot of density on a small lot, which at this point they've already done it.
Yes.
So I will go and look through that and see. I guess right now we basically have to pick housekeeping and rectify what wasn't actually done in 2023.
well, if the landscaping plan that they have recently submitted is in any way different from what was conditionally approved, we need to be told.
Well, my assumption, well, what I'm understanding, they didn't even submit a landscaping plan.
I think there was a landscape.
We talked about that. I remember.
Yeah.
Because there was a water line that was running through a log or something. We had to sit down with Keith and look at it. And it was gonna affect the trees and stuff on the front.
Yeah.
I remember a landscape plan. or
Okay.
something.
So anyway, I'm just trying to
Discussion,
figure out
yeah.
what's here. And let's see, and I can look through that and figure that out and see what exactly has been submitted and what.
Okay. Well, let's look
Yeah.
at it again next month, but if we need to
Yeah.
talk in the meantime.
Sure.
They'll be open by then.
Okay, anything else?
Their landscape plan is on this site, that's your email.
Why don't they submit another
They
landscape
may be
plan?
trying to
We
change
just
this.
horses down. Anything else?
Thank you.
Thank you, Travis. Have a good night.
And move we adjourn.
All those for?
Aye.
All against?